Assalamu alaikum and very good morning to all of you. Warm welcome again to all the participants. I'm Zishan, CFO for Flow, and feel very honored and humbled to be moderating this session. We have very diverse experience in our panelists, and a warm welcome to the esteemed panelists as well. And we also want to thank, I think, collectively to CFO Stratec for giving us this opportunity to share our experiences. So the theme for the panel is how do we leverage cost optimization, maintain adequate liquidity for growth initiatives for long-term value creation. So I think this encapsulates the key theme for any CFO, if I talk at the moment. So it's all about achieving long-term growth while balancing our liquidity and margin pressures as a CFO on daily basis, right? At the same time, I think before I turn to my participants, I also want to mention few macroeconomic developments that are facing us. We live in times of uncertainty. We saw with Ukraine war, rising energy prices, and now recently this Red Sea diversion has affecting all the major trade lanes that we see, which is resulting in higher costs and lead times. So around 10 to 12 days have been added to all the major trade lanes, just for the audience. We also saw that the financing cost has been increasing. The SIBOR has been under pressure, and that is also affecting the cost of debt. In terms of the growth forecast for the MENA region, we had initial forecast of 2.9% last October or November, which has now dropped by 0.5% as I speak, which means that 2024 will be the year where we'll have economic pressure as well, owing to inflation, owing to exchange rate fluctuations in the MENA region and so forth. So with this in the background, I turn to Mr. Khalid, our esteemed panelist. And Khalid, I want to ask you now in this times of economic instability, how does a CFO play a pivotal role in liquidity and cash flow management to ensure that the organization stays resilient against all these pressures?
Thank you, and thank you for having me. Appreciated that I'm being here, and thank you for your come. It's a good question. I have some cheat sheet here overall, but in general, these times are happened. And we, in the last at least 5-6 years, we suffer from some economy instability in general. And those times of economic instability, as you are aware, the economy in general depends on the demand and supply. Demand where the good and service is offered, supply demand where the good and service are offered, demand the people who are buying those goods and services. And having said that, we have issues with the, we've been through issues with consumer spending, average income decreases, things like that. So what I would like to attach to your questions here, I would like to elaborate more onto the cash flow management and the cost optimization in general. To start with it, the cost optimization, it's a continuous practice. And we all are aware of the budget planning, forecasting. Those are not done one time in the year. It's a continuous practice. That's what I think, especially when economy comes into unstable situations, or as you mentioned, the inflation's forecasts and things like that. So what I would also like to talk more here about the cash flow management. I would start with poor cash flow management means, let's say, definition first. It's spending more money than coming in. This is 101. Regardless what's the reserve, what's the return earnings, or what's the other things in place. And we can talk more and more about the cash flow and the cost optimization, but I would like to give some capsule, let's say, about this. And I list a couple of things, some causes, top causes of poor cash flow and tips on how to fix it. So I would say try hard to avoid in those situations, in economy instability situation in general, low profits, over investment, expanding too fast, high overhead expenses, unexpected expenses, and this has happened a lot during the course of business. Too high withdraw or borrowing, high or low product pricing. As CFOs in general or finance people always struggle with this matter, especially with the business in general. Overstocking and poor financial planning with late collections. If I want to elaborate on one or two of those points, I would say I'll talk more about the poor financial planning. And this, when I mean about this one, I'm talking about if you're following a negative cash flow business model, that might hurt your cash flow management. I'm talking about, for example, like granting 90 days for collections from customers while you're paying your dues in 30 days. So this is one of the issues. Of course, it's not like straightforward where you just switch and turn the formula, because it depends on the business nature, of course. I see some faces are smiling. Yes, of course, this is what's happening. So what I would advise how to fix such situation is mainly two things. Number one, generate instant financial reports. Second, hire the expert or find an expert who can solve this issue for you, where you can have to avoid, let's say, the poor cash flow management in general, where to avoid also spending more than what's coming in. And maybe for the time constraints, I would also elaborate on one more thing, which is the low and high product pricing. And having said that, too high prices, too low prices, that's a consumer issue. And the clients, that's a client's, something happens with the client and the consumer, of course. Too low prices, you won't be able to generate more revenue. That's, you need it to keep the business door open. Too high prices, you will have an issue with the selling the products. So mainly the quick advice on this one, how to fix it, is keep the prices of your product at competitive level in general, and always test the market on those prices, and be flexible on agile on the prices in general.
Excellent insights, Khalid, I must say. So just to recap on the key themes, I think some gold nuggets there. Huh? So A, as a CFO, having financial reports and having a a cadence of rhythms in the organization, right? Second thing, managing your AR and AP cycles in terms of the credit days. Very important, right? And third thing is the pricing, making sure that your pricing is fair enough, competitive, but at the same time, not lowballing to the competitors. So I think excellent insights, and we will develop this theme more, Khalid. Thank you. Moving on to my fellow colleague, Kareem here. So Kareem, so cash is really the king, right? That's what we are saying, and I think that's what each of us will be sharing during the day as well. So Kareem, with this in perspective, can you share any specific examples with the audience and with us in terms of what can a CFO do on daily basis, weekly, fortnightly, or the rhythms to maintain adequate liquidity to offset the inflationary pressures and this economic uncertainty? What should we do?
Actually, Syed, there is something we have to know about being a CFO. You have to be a strategic growth architect, not a budget gatekeeper. So, in my opinion, I recommend the 3 points in this matter. The first one, to boost your bottom line. The second one is to trim your expenses. And the third point, which is to use the automation or the technology for the cash management. So for the first point, to boost your bottom line, so you have to take care about your gross margin and net margin. By doing that, so you are going to think out of the box. What is the new revenue streams you are going to match or you are going to ask for it? And how you are going to achieve these drivers for these revenue streams. So sometimes in inflation or any economic complexity, the main issue is to how to fund the new expansion. So by dealing with the customers or trying to get more liquidity for your company, and instead of moving to the debt structure, so you are going to increase your gross profit. And the second bottom line, which is the net margin, mostly are paying too much in SG&A. So in my opinion, it's not about cutting expenses, and it's about how you are going to market yourself or to market your company into the market. Earlier, there was an industrial revolution. Then it moved to the information or technology industry. Now, these days, most of the market is moving to the social. And joining the social, it will expand or enhance your selling, also using a tweak pricing to match the fluctuation in the market with your other competitors. This is a good strategy as well. So if we moved to the second point, to trim your expenses, I can see that cutting expenses or cost reduction is a good way, same as making money. But as a CFO or a strategic CFO, as we say, you have to get a different definition between the costing framework and the costing strategy. Which methodology you are going to use to optimize your costing? As a previous experience in that one, in a case situation, we faced it earlier in 2009 in the financial crisis in mortgage for US. We set a deal with the vendors using a strategy of a stakeholders analysis. Our high influencers vendors, we dealt with them for a bulk, huge bulk of purchases for the basics of our raw materials, and we set a lower price for a period of time. That's why we contained the cash outflow for the costing. And the issue for us, it was the carrying for the inventory and the storage cost. So, according our contracts and negotiation with the vendors, we set the delivery shipments to Saudi Arabia because mostly they were international vendors between 3 to 4 months. So we set the storage or the quantity we need for around 3 months. Then for the first 4 months, we will receive the second one. This is lead to reduce our cost of storage because we store it into the vendors' warehouses in the factory there. And finally, which I believe, technology has been created to serve finance, not to replace finance. So by using the new automation technology to manage your cash flow and liquidity management, will enhance your insights about the operation, daily operation related to the working capital for the company. So my questions to my fellows here, do you think finance is a supervillain or superhero?
So I think, just to repeat what Kareem is saying, do you think finance is a supervillain or a superhero?
Both of them.
Both maybe, huh?
Well, you have to balance it. You have to
Depend
balance.
on the divisions you are
Great.
talking to.
Great.
So let me repeat finally the 3 takeaways you can take it to boost your bottom line, to trim your expenses, and to use your tech for managing your cash flow.
Great. Thank you, Kareem. Some excellent thoughts there. So I think I've seen that at times our GP or gross margins are declining while we are too focused on operating expenses or SG&A, which can never make up for your GP margin loss. So I think that's one thing that we need to focus on, as rightly pointed out. Trimming expenses, I think as a CFO, we need to leave no stones unturned, I think, because it should not be an incremental budgeting mindset. I think it should be a zero-based budgeting mindset. And third thing, I think automation we see, and we will have a lot of discussions, how to use RPA or automation to relieve your resources for more value-added jobs rather than doing manual jobs. So I think excellent ideas, Kareem. Thank you.
May I add something
please.
to what Kareem also, I like what he said on the also cost optimization. I would say one of the examples also that I've been through is with the support of the financial controller in general, we need to decide whether every cost is necessary, especially when the economy is unstable, and whether every single reals from potential revenues are being achieved. So that's what I would also add to what Kareem mentioned.
Excellent. And I can't agree more, Khalid, that it's not about just identifying few pools, but question every real that you're spending. With that, and I think developing the theme further, I move on to my next colleague, Basim. Basim, you bring a diversified experience, 15 years and working in different industries, right? So, Basim, with you, I will just explore this cost optimization theme further. How do you, as a CFO, revisit cost structure to balance margins and growth? Because, you know, both, like we say, the supervillain or the superhero, I mean, it's a dilemma, right? Either I can improve margins or I can grow. Commercial wants me to reduce prices. What do I do, Basim?
Assalamu alaikum. Thanks for having me today. Thanks, Saeed. Thanks for everyone. Actually, before I delve into the answer of this question, I want to reach mutual understanding the difference between the cost optimization and cost cutting. Because these two expressions actually used interchangeably. Cost optimization is like the lifestyle for the company. You need to have this lifestyle always in the company. So it's involved in maximizing the value and improving the efficiency. And it takes time, but it will have a sustainable result end of the day. Cost cutting, maybe it's like, it's like a diet. You make it one time, and it is a quick and often drastic, but if not managed well, maybe it will lead to lower quality, affecting the long run for the company. Balancing the operating margin and driving the growth is very complex task for the CFOs, and actually, as we are the custodian for the financial strategy for the company, we have to look for this very well, and we try to manage the bottom line in very good shape. There is a common belief always in the industry. We are saying doubling the sales or doubling the revenue, it will solve all our problem, and it will be enough to sustain the growth. It can be, but normally this not happen always, and sometimes the growth also bring waves of expenses. Right, additional expenses, and you will find yourself in between. Maybe again you'll think about to scale back, even not to grow. So, and task is very, again, we need to look very well for our cost before we take any step further for the growth. Cost optimization, it's the fuel for the growth. So by unlocking the financial resources, freeing up capital to reinvest in the growth, and enhancing profitability if you are managing your expense in good way. And this is also will contribute direct for your margins. Also, it will give you a competitive advantage to lower your price and attract more customers and have a good market share in the market. So actually, there are so many strategies we can use for cost optimization, but it's worth to mentioning here, there is no ready-made strategy for cost optimization. Each company is a unique, each industry is a unique, so everyone we need to look what is the effective approach can use for this cost optimization. So, and this also is the most important aspect for the cost optimization, the collaboration between among all the department. Actually, it's not a finance job. It's not the CFO job alone. Yes, we can do the initiative. Yes, we can think about it. But again, if there is no collaboration among all the departments in the business, this will not happen. People have to buy into this initiative. Right? So they have to think in different way, especially with uncertainty we have every day in the economic. So there is a common strategy actually we can use for the cost optimization, like revisiting our efficiencies in the operation. We can resource allocation, investment decision, investing in new technology. So many ways for the cost optimization. My favorite strategy is the performance metric and the KPIs. For me, this is the effective strategy you can use especially with uncertainty. And when you are driving the growth, you have to have all the KPIs in the place. So this one, it will give you a good eye, and it's like you can say real time information, how to can navigate the problems if you have any problems happen with you. So by establishing appropriate KPIs, which is linked direct with the business objective, CFOs can gain valuable insights, right, for areas to improve, to drive the progress, and actually this is data-driven approach. So it can be help the company a lot, and actually. And literally, you can link each KPIs in the company with cost measurement. So sometimes we look for the KPIs in percentage or numeric values, and this is not enough. And again, I encourage everyone today to go and look for his KPIs, which set for each department in the company, and have a fresh eyes for these KPIs. You will find something. And this is the most important part, to have agility also, to change these KPIs quickly, to be able to manage your growth and manage your cost as well. So for me, to talk about this strategy, I need hours to talk about it. And actually, since we are working in a manufacturing company and we have a lot of chains, chicken, we own all the chains starting from the breeder till the distribution and the market. So if you not set the right KPIs with each department, and I think in our industry, halalas is make difference with us. Since you have a massive production or something, so every halalas make a difference with us in the profitability. So actually, in conclusion, to achieve the balance between the operating margin will growth is a complex task that requires CFOs carefully revisit the cost and collaborate with the other stakeholders to develop healthy and sustainable growth.
Great. Thank you, Bassem. Some unique thoughts there, right? So we are not talking about just random cost cutting, rather having a culture or cross-functional cost optimization programs, right? So which means that the finance is not only taking the lead, the ownership, finance will drive, but you involve operations, supply chain, commercial, all contribute. Second thing which I really liked, Bassem, in what you said, a lot of times we see cost reduction as a barrier to growth. But I think I just want to repeat what Bassem said. You optimize your cost, and whatever you save, you take it and you invest in pricing. You get more competitive and you get more business. So I think if you have a different lens, you can use the cost optimization to save money, where you can make your prices more competitive and you can get more market share. So both hand in hand, as Bassem said as well.
It is the fuel for the growth.
Exactly. And I think what Khalid, our friend, said, that it's the halala, right? It's the every real which matters. You cannot take anything for given. Moving on to my colleague, Ahmed. Ahmed, again, has a very cross-industry diversified experience, currently working as CFO for the Middle East for PepsiCo, brings a wealth of experience. He is a speaker as well on many finance topics. So Ahmed, stage is set for you, right? We have the little unique ideas coming from all the panelists. Using these thoughts, Ahmed, what do you think could be the financial operating discipline that a CFO can maintain in terms of KPIs, in terms of meetings, in terms of financial frameworks, which can facilitate and bring all this in a very winning formula for the organization? Over to you, Ahmed.
Thanks. Assalamu alaikum. Yeah. So thanks, Said. Thanks, team. Great insights. Very happy to be here with such a great group. And I think this is the first conference in Saudi about finance and CFOs in the year. So great start, inshallah. So talk about the finance operating discipline. It's typically our role as CFOs, and that's why we are being, I'm sorry to exaggerate here, sometimes hated by the rest of the organization. But let me also link this statement, finance discipline, with the core responsibility of the CFO and how this is being emerged over time. So what exactly CFOs do in the organization? So our main responsibility is the financial statements integrity. So whether you are applying or implementing or working based on GAAP, IFRS, local books, and so on. So your key responsibility is to ensure your financial statements are very much is being reported in the right way. This is very much optimal main responsibility. The second important thing on the internal business processes. So every organization has its own statement of authority, who has to approve what, which level, and so on and so forth. And in each and every point I just mentioned now, think about us as CFOs on how we are engaged in developing each and everything. So the statement of authority, then business process as well, then business process controls as well. So for each and every process, commercial, sales to collection, accounts payable, and so on and so forth, you will find finance/control responsibility within that. So you can see how discipline is being embedded in each and every process and each and every aspect in the organization. So a core responsibility is financial statement integrity, business process, of course, the operating risk as well, because there is also strategic risk that will come at the end of my discussion. And the role of the CFO has been developed as well recently. When I say recently, last couple of years, focusing more on business forecasting, annual operating plans, as well as financial targets, integration with the commercial/operating targets. Again, this is a very much high level of discipline that the financial or the CFO has to put in the organization. So we all aim to sell. We aim all to have better growth to the organization, and as Bassem mentioned, if the top line comes, it will cover for everything. However, our responsibility, no, we don't want to have just the growth on top line. We want to have healthy sales, healthy top line growth as well. This has also developed a lot. I'm talking about my organization a bit and the big organizations. We started to get very much high level of cascaded down productivity targets. And someone will tell me, Dawood, what are you talking about? Productivity is very much linked to operations, linked to production. Guess what? It is a very much integral part of my objectives, because any operational/commercial target has to have financial implications. So again, think about the development of the discipline across the organization. It started from financial statement integrity into very much deep discussions on operations and the commercial side. But don't forget a very important thing. Aside from what I'm talking about now, how many of us in this room is aware or involved within his organization in the strategic planning in the organization? Strategic planning. So I think more than 50%. Let me ask another question. Who is managing this process within your organization? So I really like the mix. Someone mentioned CEO. Even the CEO is responsible for this strategic planning process. The CFO will implement it. And that's exactly the very high level of discipline that you put in the organization. So we start with financial statements integrity, business process controls, operational risk, and we end up with a very much important process to ensure the sustainability of this operation, which is the strategic planning of the organization. And it is whether on paper the responsibility of CEO, but again, the CFO will be responsible for that. Okay? And I mentioned in the business process, the operational risk, and there is also the strategic risk. When we go back to the Russia-Ukraine war, Mr. Putin was very much trying to give signals that he will invade Ukraine. And okay, we had to have this contingency planning and so on. And that's exactly what we call the strategic risk. And again, it goes back to us as CFOs to manage the contingency committee, the risk committee, and so on and so forth. So it is a very much wide range of discipline and responsibility. That's why I mentioned it comes with also very high level of responsibility and very high level of also interaction and conflict with the rest of the management team within the organization. So that's it in a very nutshell, but it is a very much also a heavy topic to discuss in more details.
Great. Thanks, Ahmed. So I think I like the way that you linked strategic planning. You mentioned also what you cannot measure, you cannot improve. So you need to have the KPIs. And I think the business process angle, right? That the controls and the risk matrix has to be embedded in each of your business processes. So you cannot just have a macro view. You need to know each process. And I think another thing I want to highlight here, which we can implement as CFOs, is the productivity. And I think I was there in the last conference, Ahmed, that you presented. I still remember it stuck in my mind. Huh? It was a great idea. So I think Ahmed in the last conference talked about input and output relationship. I think if you keep that equation in your mind, that each of your process, which is a business process, it's a production process, it's a commercial process, what is the input going and what output you're getting, which is basically an equation of efficiency and effectiveness. So I think if you put this under test for each of the elements and processes of your organization, I think you will be taken care of. So just giving an idea that productivity needs to be not only a discussion for the supply chains or the production, but needs to be seen throughout the organization from that perspective. So I think a very, very comprehensive look, Ahmed, I must say, and thank you for the ideas. Now, we have 12 minutes to go. I wanted to come to audience to ask a few questions, but one question is looking from me, and it's too tempting for me to let go, right? So I will still go through that question, and I'll see some smiles as I talk about it. So the last thing that I want to talk about is, what is that effective collaboration that a CFO needs to have with the CEO and the C-suite, which could be your CIO, which could be your COO, right? So again, I'll start with myself, and then I go to my esteemed panelist. So I think, like we said, that the CFO is the governor, right, of the organization. You are supposed to stop. In my days, when I was looking after business planning, my CEO used to call me a business stopper as well. And he used to tease me, Zishan, you always stop the business. You won't give the credit limit to my commercial team, so you stop the business, right? So I think how I see this role and how my understanding of this role has evolved. Organization exists or will exist if you have a healthy market share, or if you have a healthy portfolio of customers. Commercial earns, and then you control money. If there is no money, you can't control anything, right? So I think what my understanding is, how can you facilitate the CEO to gain more market share and also drive the value creation with the CEO? So it's not the CEO's job only that you increase the value. When I say value, I'm talking about the margins, I'm talking about the revenue, I'm talking about the market valuation. So as a CFO, how do you enable the CEO in increasing the market share, in investing in the pricing, so the organization becomes more growth oriented and it's not static? So, and I think at the same time, I also believe that CEOs also really appreciate when we bring the governance and when we bring in the control perspective or the risk perspective, because the CEO wants to grow. But when you come and say, you know what, you want to grow, fine, but look at these 3 or 4 other aspects as well, and you put it on the table, and then it's a collective discussion. So it's not that you are trying to stop. You are trying to update the CEO about different strategic, operational, financial risk that could happen if we go for a particular strategy. So I think that's my take on the CEO and CFO role. I think a love and hate relationship at times as well. So moving in no particular order to my panel, I think we can just take 2-3 minutes here, my friends, and then I move to the audience for any questions. So just a quick round, CFO, CEO relationship and CFO C-suite relationship, starting with Khalid.
That's 2 minutes, right? Okay.
Just a quick one.
I would say like this. We have a job that we need to fulfill, which is a co-pilot with the CEO. That means reliability of information. And I always like to conclude it with this. There is a triangle. One part is maintenance, where we should have a very well maintenance, that's process and things like that. So that's a reliable information. And then a control, that's the other part of the triangle. With this control, as you mentioned, there is anti-fraud, good control in place. Also the C-suite will be happy. And the last part of the triangle, which is in the top, insight. This is where comes to our role, comes to the C-suite and also the CEO to give insight, to co-pilot, and to support with the information and advices and hints on go no go, growth, issues, alerts, something like that.
Great
So thank you.
thoughts in a minute. Great thoughts in a minute, Khalid, I must say. Ahmed.
It cannot go in a minute, but yeah, I had the same discussion also in previous conferences. Very, very interesting and very exciting and very also sensitive topic, if I would say. But very simple, very quick. There is psychological/human factor, and there is operational factor. So the operational factor is very easy. The strong CFO who is very much have a very strong commercial/operation acumen in order to complement the work that the CEO is doing. We are not only gatekeepers, we are not only cost controllers, because most of the discussion is all about cost. We spend a lot of time, and that's exactly our mentality, how we are structured as finance folks. So focus on how to support in growth, the balance between short-term and long-term, short-term wins and long-term also strategic directions as well. The psychological/human aspect is more critical, and we can spend also long time talking about it. But make it simple. I have been through so many relationships with CEOs. There are so many discussions. Sometimes, I'm sorry to say, sometimes we as a CFOs, given that we have very much a strong tool, which is numbers. Numbers is our responsibility, so we know everything about the company. We think that we are very much smarter. What this guy CEO, he doesn't have a strong career. Look at his CV. And there is something good about everyone. We complement each other. And one of the managers told me, Dawood, you work for the CEO, but in the right manner. Yani my company gives me the right because I have a reporting line to the sector CFO, not the CEO. So I can easily say no. But if I say no, if I get into conflict with the CEO, guess who will be impacted? The organization. The whole organization will be impacted. So instead of just thinking that I report to the CEO, I work for him, just think that you are complement what he's doing and supporting him in the right manner, in the good way, and use your power again in the right way. We are very powerful as CFOs, but the partner with the CEO to make sure that this is a very much healthy relationship.
Thank you, Ahmed.
Thank you.
Moving on to Kareem.
Thank you, Said. In my opinion, I'd like to borrow Ahmed's insights key about the strategic plan between the CEO and CFO. So Ahmed, he believes that CFO, he implement the strategy. But there is an intersection between the CEO and the CFO, that both of them has to define the short-term goals and long-term goals. Being a financer is not around financial metrics. It's hand-on and supervising all divisions inside the organization. So to do this with the CEO, you have to give him two main points. The first one, setting the OKRs for the plan or for the strategic plan operation. The second one is to define the risk tolerance for the organization, whether in the short term or in the long term. So knowing where you stand, where you should be, so defining your gap will define the output you mentioned earlier.
Thank you. Thank you. Bassem.
It's all about to be business partner. If you work with the mindset of business partner with all the C-suite, you will be succeed end of the day, and you have to work with mindset of you are supporting the business. As you mentioned, you are not stopping the business side, right? So we are supporting the business, but sometimes we see risks maybe other people don't see, because we always and every day we are looking for the financial, for the numbers, and so it's a mindset and culture, and you need to work very closely also with all the C-suites and transparency between you and them, right? So if they understand you are trying to give support to each one, and everyone, he has to succeed in his position, and you are not in competition also between them, right? So you are trying to give the support, and if you highlight and give the insights to them, then everyone will succeed for what he's doing. So finally, the organization, the whole organization will be succeed. So again, it's about business partner with everyone in the company.
Great, thank you. So now moving on to the audience, I'll just take a couple of questions. Any remarks, any comments, anything that you want to share? And we have a great house, by the way. Huh? I think we are looking at 100, 140 CFOs. I think thousands of years of experience in one room, by the way. Huh? So any thoughts, any questions, any remarks? And I will request if we can pass on the mic, please. Your name, organization, and the question.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Fawaz Al-Fawaz from Tasniya as a CFO. Thank you so much for the great discussions. I really agree in most of the comments been said. And to me, I mean, just a remark, and then I have, also a question, if you allow me, please. Just to mention and agree with the leaders who said that, okay, the relationship between the CEO and CFO is actually gaining the trust between each other. It's very important really to agree and building the trust on the organizations and be consistent of your directions, your KPIs, your performance, etc. But I think more communications and collaboration is important, and socialize, the strategies, communicated to the different levels, etc., and setting up the goals and objectives based on those strategies, based on the feedback, and monitor the growth of, of the growth of of that, process. And it is really a process, going forward. This is not really a destination; it's a journey. Need really to believe in, on all of the tools and support of these strategies of the executions, among, the leaders, including the, the AI technology, RPAs, etc. So it comes to the cost optimizations, as you mentioned, which in my opinion, there are two elements which is important to complement what you have said. It's actually the agilities and the timing. The cost optimization is good, strategies is good, but again, choosing the right time, especially today, the change and, the cost increase and the inflations, etc., becomes the timing is very important, which really to manage your depreciations of, of your project and constructions, as well as, the financial cost. It is to bottom line, or, after the EBITDA of your business is extremely important to pay attention, to the, to these 2 points. The questions today, of what we've been doing as a CFOs, in my opinion, we need really to continue a partnership with the business, trying really to create a clear process and not just only controlling compliance and, three-way of defense, etc. It's been given, whether, it's, in the management and the risk and compliance and the internal audit as well. But in my opinion, we need really to continue training, and bringing awareness, to those audience as responsibilities of CFOs. I find that is very, very useful if you really continue communicating, training, and giving awareness, to different level of the organizations, in addition to agreeing on the KPIs and the, the objective in creating, value, more value to our shareholders. Question to the audience as an opportunity is actually 2 things. One is really, what is the top 3 risks in your mind, which really can really give the audience at least priorities, to concentrate on and to add it to their plan and to the do list. Second is, how would you see the position of the CFO, in the next 2-3 years, considering the risks? And, the changes today is really coming very fast. Usually it takes 3-5 years, to have a change from, level to level. But today I think we sleep and wake up, on different requirement, different risk, in addition to the geopolitical and the technologies, and et cetera. Thank you so much and very much appreciated.
Thank you very much, sir. Excellent thoughts. One, what are the top 3 risks that we see as a CFO? And the second is, how do we see the CFO role evolving in the next 3 to 5 years?
I would go,
And because we are short on time, so just
sure,
I would appreciate
very,
quick.
maybe short on this because a lot of risk is there, and thank you for the insights. I think, in my opinion, I would answer differently. Let's say like this: let's, as a CFO, as a finance people, let's try to budget smart, forecast well, pay attention to our accounts payables. That's in terms of the managing our financials. And the other sides, let's manage the relationship between the C-suite and the CEOs. And I like what he said about trust. It's 2 ways: giving trust, granting trust, and receiving trust. So it's both ways. So I would answer it differently in this way. Thank you.
So great questions and great insights. Thanks for that. I think that the top 3 risks, it differs from industry to another, but I will talk very much generally. If we talk about this region, geopolitical is a key risk as we stand, and all the consequences around it is very critical, from supply chain, from commodities availability, and so on and so forth. The geopolitical is very critical, very important risk, and we don't sleep at nights because of such risk. The second one is very important when we talk about technology, for example. So technology disruptions, the pace of technology disruption is very critical also for the high tech companies. Very important to see what's next in terms of innovation in order to make sure that you have sustained operations. So geopolitical is very important. Business disruption, technology disruption is very important. And the third in and out risk is, which is very much linked to the first point, the geopolitical is into 2 dimensions: commodity/currency inflation, currency devaluation across also regions. It is impacting because I manage a portfolio of different countries, so it makes a big risk, if I would say. On the second point, the role of CFO, if you allow me, guys, to just answer this one. I'm not sure if you are focusing mainly on the CFO role within the organization or in light of technology changes. I mentioned this before as well. I get so many discussions in my one-to-one with my team and in my town halls with my team. I get this question a lot. What will happen with our role as a finance professionals? And some of the team members, the audience attended this before. There is a very much technical way to look at it. So if you have your organization is 100%, if 50% of the organization is managing transaction processing, repeated tasks, there is a high risk on that. Technology will not replace us. Technology will replace some jobs. However, it will create a big room for others. So the risk will be on people within the finance, on the outside of finance, who doesn't know and understand how to deal with technology. That's exactly the key thing. The role of CFO will be much more into the strategic part and the commercial acumen part, because we spend a lot of time as CFOs, and most of us are a bit old in terms of age, and we know how much time we used to spend just to get data from system and put it in reports, as opposed to analyze it and tell exactly the organization what to do. So our role will be much more strategic and much more supportive to the business growth and business sustainability.
Great. So thank you, Ahmed. I think, no worries. I think because we are short on time, we need to move to the next. Bassem and Kareem, I think we can have discussion maybe separately with the participants. Thank you very much for a great discussion. I learned a lot, and I hope that you were able to benefit from some of the suggestions. Over to you, Diksha. Thank you.